One of the most obvious and most common questions that I get about the work I do is, what is life coaching? We're starting to hear the term life coach tossed around a bit more these days. There are all different kinds of coaches. There are all different kinds of ways of going about coaching. And so I wanted to share with you my take on life coaching so that you know what I'm all about. So let's start by talking about the differences between therapy and coaching. And throughout this video, I want to share some of my personal experience with you here. So I'm going to start by telling you that I was in therapy for many years with great therapists. Therapy does a wonderful job of going back into the past, right? And helping us to process, understand, and heal anything that has already happened. So, this brings us up to this moment in the present, whole and functioning. Coaching then is where we say, okay, from this moment, what do I want? It's more future focused in the sense that there's an element of creating the life that you want for yourself. Coaching is filled with practical tools. There are lots of step by step processes, and there's a deep sense of, as David White, the poet, says, being a good ancestor to your future self. What can you do in this moment that will serve you in the long term? How can you show up for yourself in the present that will support your highest self as you live into your future? Now, coaching isn't strictly about goal setting, although goals certainly can and usually are a part of it. And it's not only focused on the future, there's a strong element of being present. How do I handle this moment, this difficult emotion? How do I get through an interaction with this person? How do I manage this job? How do I show up as a parent, partner, friend, and neighbor the way that I want to show up? That's the work of coaching. Asking these questions, bringing a deep sense of awareness and understanding, and then moving forward with clarity and with groundedness instead of just winging it and hoping for the best. So, another question I get then is, who needs a life coach? And my short answer to this is everyone. A life coach is a coach for the game of life. It's the game we're all playing, this shared lived experience that we're all going through together, but also individually. Yeah? So when you look around at the people who are super committed to their endeavors, people like top athletes, executives, entrepreneurs, people who want to optimize things like their financial health or their physical health, people who want to learn a new skill or if they want to deepen their knowledge in a really significant way. Many people who are up to these sorts of endeavors hire experts in those arenas to help them get where they want to go. They don't YouTube it, they don't buy a book on it, they work directly with an expert. And yet, for some reason, the struggles that we all face with difficulties like stress, anxiety, overwhelm, self doubt, and worry, those struggles are things that we've been left to figure out on our own. Have you noticed? The inner landscape of our minds, of our thoughts and beliefs, and all of the emotions that we experience throughout the day. That inner world, the power of our minds and our hearts, is something that we've been left to sort out in our spare time with no guides, no tools, no how-to manuals. And this is where life coaching comes in. So, I personally discovered coaching after years in therapy, years of medication, years of practicing yoga, eating clean, meditating, using essential oils, reading the books, and generally taking care of myself. In fact, it was a book by Martha Beck. It's called Finding Your Own North Star. And that book was really the start of my coaching journey. That book had such simple and effective tools for how to feel better. I had been working with wonderful therapists. I had a very supportive, very loving family. I had great friends, the whole thing. But that book was like closing my eyes on the external world and opening my eyes to my internal world, really for the first time ever. It opened me up to me. I could see and understand myself maybe for the first time ever. Because at the time, I was struggling a lot with anxiety. And I mean a lot. I was experiencing panic attacks. I had been hyperventilating to the point where I would pass out. I was reluctant to go certain places. I had been using my family as a safety net. And I was confusing the experience of anxiety with pretty much every other emotion because I managed to make most things about anxiety. I lost time at school, and later I lost time at work because I was anxious. I developed quite a clever plan, I thought, of self soothing with alcohol. Spoiler alert, that didn't work out so well, as you can imagine. I missed out on social events. I lost friends. I scared boyfriends away. I spent hours, sometimes days, exhausted and in bed, recovering from anxiety and from anxiety attacks. Now, this was a time before everyone had a computer in their hands 24/7. This was a time before you could Google things, didn't have a computer at my fingertips. This was a time before there was such a widespread understanding of the toll that anxiety was taking on people, and women in particular. And honestly, there just wasn't much language around anxiety, and there weren't many resources to help people who were struggling with it. But with coaching, I began to really see there were tools, and I was understanding how I could use those tools to translate my lived experience, to translate into my life. I could see real possibility for myself and my future. I could see that change was absolutely available. I just had to show up and stay consistent with the work because it is work. Coaching is not a passive experience. It's not something you can kind of sort of hang out with or randomly think about. It is a mental and emotional excavation of all of the things that aren't working in your life. And it's the conscious creation of new habits, of new beliefs, and of new ways of showing up that creates authentic change, not only in the short term, but in the entire future of your life. So, let me tell you what this looks like in a concrete way. And I want to use the analogy of cleaning the house because that's something that we all do and can relate to. We do this on a regular basis. So, when you look around your home, there are some rooms that you're in every single day. You likely spend time in the kitchen, in your living room, in your bedroom, and in your bathroom every day. Now, there are other rooms in your house that you maybe don't visit every day, maybe even very often at all. Places like the corners of the basement, maybe a guest room, your attic, maybe even your backyard. Now, your mind is a lot like your home. There are some areas of your mind that you spend a lot of time in. Depending on which season of your life you're in, that may be the area of your mind where a lot of your parenting comes from, right? Those thoughts, those ideas. Maybe it's the area of your mind that thinks a lot about your relationships, whether these are romantic, whether it's family, whether it's friendships. Maybe this has to do with your work, your physical health, your extended family, your finances, or maybe it's your future. Now, this changes sometimes often, sometimes over the course of years, but no matter what your current life circumstances are, there are some areas of your mind, some ways of thinking, some ways of behaving in the world that are very common for you right now. And there are others that you only think about or act on occasionally, right? Now, just like taking care of your home, it's important to look into these areas of your mind and clean them up. Because if you aren't checking in, if you aren't bringing your attention to how you're thinking and to how you're feeling about, say, your work, if you just put your job on autopilot, you're bound to build up some gunk there, right? Resentments that go unchecked, frustrations that pile up one after another. It would be like never vacuuming, right? Eventually, there's such a layer of dirt and grime on the floors that you forget what they even look like. You completely lose track of what's under there. Why you loved those floors to begin with, right? So, how about let's take another example. I want you to think about a closet in your home, the hall closet, closet in your bedroom. Things tend to go in, but not much comes out. And the closet over time gets more and more disorganized. It gets chaotic in there. It gets harder to find what you're looking for. You're sure it's in there, but it's under so many things that you can't even get to it without unloading half of last year's winter sweaters, right? Can you relate to that? So, our minds and our emotions are the same way. We pile more and more on, more expectations, more assumptions, more opinions and ideas. Then we add in some emotions that never quite seem to go away. They're a little uncomfortable, we don't really want to deal with them, so we just pile more on top because then we don't have to look at it, right? So, our mental and emotional spaces wind up like those closets. They're stacked full of old things that don't serve you anymore, things that probably don't fit, they aren't in style, things you don't even want anymore. And you can't find your way around because it's too messy in there, the closet and the mind, right? So, what do we do in coaching? We clean it all up. We take a look at how you're thinking, what you're feeling, how you're showing up in the world. Are you acting the way you want to act? Do you react, overreact, maybe, right? Are your overarching mood states, those emotional weather systems, what are those like? Do you tend to feel uneasy and stormy inside most of the time? Do you understand how you're feeling and why you're feeling that way? Do you do or say things and wonder who is pulling the puppet strings because you feel like you're watching yourself from some faraway place? Are there things you want to be doing in your life that you're not doing and you're wondering why you can't just get it together already? This is the work of coaching. This is coaching the game of life, taking that inner world and making sense of it, walking systematically through those inner rooms, and just like a house, cleaning it all up. We're going to take inventory, we're going to see what's in there, we're going to connect the dots, put pieces together so that the whole picture makes so much more sense, so that there's a flow to it, so that you make sense to you. And from there, once we've cleaned up and sorted things out, then we get to start creating. We get to build that inner home into the space of your dreams, the thoughts and feelings, how you're showing up, the areas of your life that you are in the most often. Or this could be areas of your life that you want to live in more often. We go through all of it. We build and sometimes rebuild that inner space exactly how you want it. The process of all of this, taking inventory of what's happening now, planning out what you want, and building that inner space, that home inside of you, in your mind and your heart, that home of your dreams. This is the process of coaching. Because here's the deal, this work takes commitment. It usually requires an outside perspective, and it definitely takes a willingness to be uncomfortable, to try new things, and to get outside of everything you've done before. Because that stuff isn't working, right? As your coach, that's my job, to hold a space for you to live into that commitment to yourself, to see what that really looks like. This is a space to hit pause on life and zoom out so that you can join me in clear seeing, where you can get that perspective on what's happening. And coaching is a space where you're safe to figure out how to be a little uncomfortable, how you can feel emotions that you've never truly felt before, right? This is a space where you're safe to challenge yourself, to try new things, and to get outside of that zone of familiarity where you've been trying to create change by doing the same things you've always done. It just never quite works, does it? And listen, I've got systems for all of this. If you have ever found yourself in this vast world of self help and someone has offered you this strangely miraculous happily ever after, this is not that. I don't rely on slippery new age concepts. I don't teach from a place of supernatural miracles. I come at this work from a very analytical, a very step by step process where I have guides, I have how to structures for all of it. New belief systems, how to feel your feelings, practicing mindfulness, creating new habits, you name it. If I'm teaching it, I'm going to teach you the how behind it. You will not be left to wonder or to flail on your own. Now, coaching means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Coaching is an unregulated industry, and there's a lot of overnight fixes and magic bullet promises out there. There's a certain amount of responsibility on the part of the clients to do their research and find a truly great and qualified coach. Because anyone who wants to call themselves a coach can. Now, I believe it is my duty to do this work as transparently as possible and to hold myself to the highest ethical standards. I hold certifications from highly esteemed and very rigorous programs. I have a certification from Brooke Castillo and the Life Coach School. I have a certification from Janet Stone Yoga as a teacher of asana, yoga philosophy, mantra, mudra, and pranayama, and from Tara Brock and Jack Cornfield in mindfulness meditation. I continue and will continue to put myself in the position of student first and foremost. Everything I offer and teach comes from my teachers and the teachers of my teachers and the teachers before them. Now, all of that said, I believe that my chief credential is in offering you my story and the path that I have personally walked. I know what it's like to be debilitated by anxiety. I know what it's like to feel limited by stress. I know what it's like to dream of one life and feel absolutely trapped in a parallel life, not knowing how to get from where I believe I'm stuck to where I want to go and live. I have studied, I have practiced, and I have showed up for myself consistently. I teach the path I've walked. I offer you the transformation I've created for myself. This is not a secret I want to hold on to. I hope this answers some of the questions that you may have had about life coaching. I hope this answers some of the questions you may have about what we're up to around here. And I hope this answers some of the questions you may have had about how coaching could fit into your life. I would love to see you take these steps for yourself. Yeah. Now, there are a couple of ways that I work with people. I work with clients both one on one and in my monthly coaching program, which is called the Fierce Calm Project. Now, one on one coaching is a really powerful way to get started with coaching. We all have unique experiences, we all have individual life circumstances and personal struggles that we're dealing with. One on one coaching is the most immediately impactful way to jumpstart your personal transformation out of stress and anxiety towards calm, contentment, and peace. So, I have a really amazing immersive program that gives you a full coaching toolbox of holistic techniques so that you have a range of options to support yourself in any situation you find yourself in. These are all scientifically backed methods. Many of them have been around for a while. And I mean, like the greatest thinkers in history taught and spoke about these tools. Ancient yogis practiced with these tools, and monks used these mindfulness and meditative qualities in their lives going back centuries. I'll teach all of this to you in a one on one setting so that we tailor these tools to your life and to what you're up against, to what you're struggling with, to what your triggers are. The other option is my Fierce Calm project, and it's amazing. It's my monthly coaching program where we take all of these coaching tools and we focus on specific monthly topics. We have a private community forum where we share everything from coaching questions to recipes to book recommendations. It's super fun. We have weekly group calls together where we do coaching, we do guided meditations. I teach some small exercises to help you learn how to regulate your nervous system. And we do what I call fierce calm talks, which are kind of like Dharma talks, if you're familiar with those. And we really hone in one area in a supportive way that we can pull into our lives. There's tons of bonus material and content in there. Like I've got all of the podcast worksheets. I've got any mini courses and webinars that I've taught in the past and offered to the public that are no longer available to the public. We have our Fierce Calm book club, which the tagline is it's the book club that reads the books that your neighborhood book club won't read. And I have to say, it's just generally the coziest and sweetest corner of the internet to get coached, to do your inner work, and to connect and share with other really amazing and like minded women. So, if you're serious about feeling good, if you're serious about committing to your overall health and well being, if you're serious about cultivating a true sense of contentment and calm for yourself and for breaking out of the stress of or the cycle of stress and anxiety, then I invite you to join me as a one on one client or as a member of the Fierce Calm Project. So you can find out more about both and you can figure out which option is best for you by going to kellyhanlonmccormick.com/apply. I'd love to help you create your transformation out of stress and into